Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Matt Willson SFL Kickoff Show. I'm Mike Daggs. He's Gerald Smith. Behind the scenes, we've got Cameron Irvine on production. Welcome to Wildcard Week here in Season 25 in the Simulation Football Week League. One of those things. Gerald, we made it. We're here.
It's been a long season, but look, all
Yes.
these everyone plays for this weekend alone right here, either this weekend or next weekend. Play for this beautiful trophy right here, and guess what? This is what everybody put in leading up to as the playoff starts. We're gonna see how it's all gonna shake out starting tonight.
We are. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. We got a 1-hour kickoff show because it's the playoffs, baby.
Yeah, why not?
And not only are we going to talk about the final seeding and the playoff schedule, Gerald, the Season 25 All-Stars are going to be revealed. And I know we've done it in the past where we've kind of toyed with people's emotions because it's just what we do here on the Willson Show. Can't help it. That's how it is. And we kind of drag it out and say, hey, should we announce them now? And then we don't. And then we do another breakdown. Listen, we're going to announce them throughout the show. So we'll do a game breakdown, and then we'll give you some of the All-Stars. And then we'll do another game breakdown, and then we'll give you a little bit more. We got to keep them hooked somehow.
Yeah, why not? Keep on. You got to watch the whole thing to get the
whole
full
show.
the full picture, everything.
Or at least 3/4 of the show anyway.
Yeah, something like that.
All right, well, let's get into it. Let's talk about the final week of the regular season. There was a lot of great games. There was a lot on the line. The Fort Worth Toros kicked things off. They were in Minnesota to take on the Legend. They held their fate in their hands, at least at that point. They still needed some help later on throughout the rest of the weekend. They took care of business themselves. They got that 6th win, 23-18 over Minnesota. Did not get the help that they needed. Both of those teams were out of the playoffs. A couple of the teams that weren't going to make the playoffs no matter what, but playing for a little bit of pride, Lexington and Los Angeles. It was actually ended up being a really competitive game. LA getting the win 31-24. LA getting that 3rd win on the season.
Look, and that's really good for LA, right? They've been down on their seasons and everything else, right? They're having all these changes happen, ownership changes and stuff like that. But maybe this is something that can kickstart themselves going into next season, right? Find out what's working and just try and carry it on into next season.
Absolutely. Chicago and Oklahoma City, that game actually kind of started off a little bit slow and then just went whoop. Not a lot to say. 62-3. Ridiculous. I mean, in the past 2 weeks, we've seen a lot of big stats put up by Chicago. Obviously, they're in the playoffs, so we're going to talk about their team a little bit more later on here in the show. But I mean, is a trouncing like that 2 weeks in a row something that we can expect to continue on in the playoffs, or was that just the opponent?
Yeah, but it's the opponent. They played the same team in back-to-back weeks, just in different venues, and it just wasn't pretty.
Playoff preview of sorts. Denver at Washington. The Trident getting the win 24-21 over the Night Wings. That one was a great one going back and forth. Queen City in their final game as the Corsairs taking on the Scorpions in Arizona. Arizona getting that convincing 7th win on the season, 34-20. And Albuquerque, Mexico City, a battle for the South. Ultimately, we had Albuquerque and Mexico City and Bossier City, Houston taking place at the same time. Mexico City needed that win, and we needed Houston to lose, and it happened.
Yeah, look, and I know because I picked Houston. I didn't think they were going to lose at home, but credit to Bossier City going in there and giving you guys, the Louisiana team, coming up and helping the foreigners.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So listen, and I know some people keep on saying Mexico City backed into the South again. No. In season 24, I throw a big old asterisk up there on that Mexico City won the South thing because we were tied with Houston and Albuquerque, and Houston had beat us that season. So head-to-head, Houston would have gotten that win, but with Albuquerque also up there with the same record at 8-4, none of us could win over head-to-head, so there was some, I don't know, obscure backdoor coin flip or something. I'm not sure.
Well, to even say you guys backed into it doesn't make sense to me because, wow, you guys just beat Houston handily the week before that.
Right.
So it's like, hey, you guys took care of work. You just need a little bit of help, and then it proved on the head-to-head that you guys were the better squad. So
go Aztecs.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Appreciate it. All right, so Florida. How about Florida? And the Skyhawks. You haven't believed in Florida all season long.
No.
41-13 over the Skyhawks. We'll talk about Florida more later on. Pittsburgh and Baltimore. It was a close game, lower scoring game than I thought it would be.
Me too.
Baltimore eking out the win 22-17. And then in the Monday Night Spectacular, Vancouver on the road in Sin City. And Vancouver still looking like Vancouver has looked, and secured that #1 seed. We were that close, man. That close to getting Matt Wilson's Aztecs that #1 seed. But Vancouver, credit to them, 9-3 on the season, a 34-10 victory over the Samurai.
Yeah, look, and the Samurai were coming along for a while, right? But they
Yeah.
go, they welcome Vancouver. You think they would have had a shot, but guess what? Not so much.
Well, let's look at what the playoff picture looks like now. The final seeding is in the books, and we've got the whole playoff picture and schedule for you to look at what's coming up here throughout the rest of this weekend and all the way through Friday, November 28th at 8 p.m. when we kick off the championship game kickoff show. So there you have it. Over on the left-hand side, we've got Sin City and Pittsburgh. That game is going to be called by Cameron Irvine and Charles Doherty. Below that, Florida and Washington on Sunday at 6:30 p.m. That game coming up here in just a little bit. That one will be called by Mike O'Neill and Anthony Ellison. Way over on the right-hand side, and Sunday, November 9th, later on this evening, we've got Baltimore at Denver. That'll be Eddie Gage and Russell Colston on the call. And then on Monday night at 7 p.m., you've got Arizona and Chicago taking to the field, and that'll be Eric Vincent and John Campbell. On Saturday and Sunday, the 15th and 16th. So 1 week from today, we've got the quarterfinals, and you see the top four. You've got Vancouver, Mexico City, D.C., and Houston. All are going to be hosting games there in the quarterfinal week. And Gerald, one thing that was interesting to note, you have to look back all the way to season 19 to find a wild card team, any of the wild card teams that have made it to a semifinal game. All of them end up getting knocked out in that quarterfinal round, and those top four teams all advanced to the semifinals. Back in season 19, you had number 5 Arizona, who took down number 4 Florida with a 56-yard field goal to go up by 1 point. It was ridiculous, but that's our playoff schedule. What do you think?
The way things ended up falling out, Pittsburgh was in that top four for a long time, right? Up until the last couple of weeks when they started having some what you call some chinks in the armor or whatever else. Now they go from a top four, not even getting that first round bye. Now
Right.
they're the 6th seed and playing a Sin City team and Baltimore. I mean, I had them for dead.
You did?
They come in there and they win all these 4 games in a row, come in there, and now they're playing Denver. That's going to be the game to watch, I do think, this weekend.
It is, and we're going to break down all 4 of the wild card games. Next week, we'll break down all 4 of the quarterfinal games. That way we can talk about the ins and outs of all of them and what it took for these teams to get to where they are here on that playoff picture. And, Gerald, the interesting thing for me is that this very well might be the season from multiple aspects that you could see one of the teams from the wild card get into a semifinal game, because there's some teams like you just mentioned, Pittsburgh, who was in that top 4 for multiple weeks. Even number 12 Baltimore, and we'll talk about all these games in detail, but number 12 Baltimore, listen, if you asked me 5 weeks ago, I would have said you're nuts, not even going to make the playoffs.
No.
Now they're in the playoffs as the 12th seed, and I'm thinking they could be in the championship.
Yeah, look, them and the way Chicago's been playing lately, Washington as well,
Yep.
doing the same thing. So you have at least, like four of those seeds going in there that playing in the wild card. You're like, hey, they might be able to go to the quarterfinals and beat a top 4 team to get themselves in the semis.
Arizona's always got a way about them with scouting and winning games that matter. In Chicago, listen, the opponent is the opponent. They scored over 120 points in 2 weeks. I mean, you still got to score those points. That's
Right.
It's crazy. So,
is.
all right, let's start off with we'll go to the last game. We'll work our way back towards the closest game kicking off later on tonight, Florida and Washington. So we'll start talking about Sin City at Pittsburgh. These teams, they had very similar seasons, Gerald. They started off slow, and then they had really strong middles, but then they had slow, disappointing finishes to the regular season. Pittsburgh, they lost the first couple games only by 7 points each, and then they would go on an 8-game winning streak, including a signature 37-14 win over the DC Dragons in Week 10. To end the season, though, they'd lose a home game to Minnesota, and then they would lose on the road to Baltimore. And they allowed Baltimore to not only win that game, but stay alive and make the playoffs. So could that come back to haunt them later on? It's a strong enough finish to host a playoff game here, but with the number 2 seed in sight, it's not the finish that they wanted, but they are in the playoffs. Sin City, they also started off slow. They lost their first 3 games by 2 scores each. We were talking about them saying, well, they're definitely not the Canton that they came from,
Right.
and they're just, who knows what happened. But finally, they'd get things turned around and win 6 of their next 7, including wins over Washington, D.C., and Mexico City. 2 of those teams are in that top 4.
Yeah.
And they beat them. So convincingly, too, by the way. I still have bruises. And I wasn't even playing. And it's an esport. Anyway, they would lose their final 2, though, going back to suffering those 2+ score losses in those last couple of games. So similar ups, similar downs for these teams, but not similar schedules. So that's something I still want to bring up. Pittsburgh had the easiest schedule of any team. When all things were said and done, they were 23 of 23 in strength of schedule. Their strength of victory, middle of the pack. But listen, it is what it is. You play the teams that are on your schedule, and you've got to beat those teams. They didn't make the schedule. They didn't make those other teams that they played lose all those other games to give them that low strength of schedule. But facts are facts. They had the easiest strength of schedule. Sin City, they actually had the number 1 strength of victory in the league. They beat the strongest opponents, and their strength of schedule as a whole, number 8. So Pittsburgh, they finished better. They're hosting, but Sin City has shown that they can beat better teams. So who's got the upper hand in this one? Talk about Sin City.
So, look, Sin City, right, in my opinion, seemingly has backed their way into the playoffs, right, by losing 2 straight, but they still managed to get in the big dance, as we call it, right? Look, they've gotten themselves in the playoffs by employing a different type of offense, right? Historically, they have done so with a power run game, being top 4 in rushing the last 4 seasons.
Oh, yeah, Logan
but
Lee.
not this season. They
Yep.
have not done it that way. They rank second to last in rushing. They average 61 yards a game. Not very good at all.
Which is wild to me because they got the same guys.
It's the same guys.
Yeah.
Robert Johnson, you got Logan
Yeah.
Lee, and they just can't get it. I don't know why.
Can't
They
get
just
'em
can't
going.
get it done. Look, this season, their passing game has been pretty darn good. I question Scar Patterson all the time
Oh, yeah.
for 4 straight seasons.
I was going to say, years now. Years you've questioned
There's a
them.
bash. I'm like, this guy can't carry your team. But guess what? Scar Patterson is number 4
Yeah.
pass yards, number 5 in completion percentage, and number 9 in touchdowns thrown. And who's he thrown to? Wide receiver Al Dillapy Sr., who has been amazing this season. Number 3 in receptions, 84 receptions on the season. Number 3 in receiving yards, over 1,300 yards receiving.
Yeah.
And then he adds 8 touchdowns himself, which ranks 6th in the league for wide receiver. And then you sprinkle in wide receiver Kenny Hendricks, and then you actually throw in the tight end talent still, and you have yourself the 4th best passing offense in the SFL, right? So the concerning part of this offense is the run game, as we just mentioned, right, along with the sacks allowed. It seems like they have offensive line issues. Can't get the blocking scheme right.
Right.
They can't protect the quarterback. The ball carriers are only averaging 2.9 yards a carry this season, and they have allowed 30 sacks, which is the 4th most sacks allowed in the SFL. So, look, and it's for on the offense, it's Lee, it's Johnson, it's Kimbrough, and Monte Carlo. They need to get themselves together to kind of get a run game going, because guess what? That's what you need in the playoffs, in my opinion, to win games, especially on the offensive side.
And you need defense, too, and the defense hasn't necessarily looked as good as they have in the past, especially back in the Canton area where you had Kevin Brackett getting a sack every other play, and but the defense has shown flashes of their old self. Are they going to be able to bring that together here in the playoffs and bring it the whole rest of the way?
Well, for them and their fans, I'm pretty sure they hope so, right? Because they are top 10 in takeaways this season, along with being being second best, right? Number 2 in defensive touchdown this season. They've got 4 touchdowns from their defense. But a huge concern for me is that have been inconsistent as of late. Look, the defense, on the season has allowed more points than the offense scores, which is the 4th worst total defense in the league.
Yeah.
But good news for Sin City, They play very well on the road. They are 4-2
Weirdly
on
good.
the road
Yeah,
this
on the road.
season,
Yeah.
right? So look, it's good news for them. We don't want to play at home. We
Right.
want to play in somebody else's
Yeah.
house and go in there and beat them up. Look, and for this whole
Too
team,
many distractions in Vegas.
right?
That's what it
Exactly.
is.
So look, and the key players, right? All the ball carriers. They need more production out of them.
Yeah.
I think to kind of keep propelling themselves to go further in the playoffs. Scar Patterson, Al Dillapre Sr. continue to do what you've been doing, right? Especially with the run game struggling and the defense. They just need to try and capture what they had, on defense from a few seasons ago. Look, you only
Yep.
need it for 3 more games. Just kind of keep it going for 3 more games, recapture a little bit of that, which they shown flashes they can do. I think they can look at themselves maybe getting past Pittsburgh.
They might. Well, speaking of Pittsburgh, let's get into them. We know you love some Louisiana North, as you like to call them.
Yeah.
The Pittsburgh River Hogs. They were considered by some to be the best team in the league if you go from, say, week 3 to week 14 when they were on that 8-game winning streak.
Look. And they were just 1 win away from securing a division title
Yeah.
and just could not get
Couldn't
that
get
win.
it. Last 2 wins.
You know what?
Just,
And it kind of makes me nervous because if you can't
Yes.
get that 1 win in the regular season, how can you win those important games going forward? But look, they did back into the playoffs a bit. They did. Let's just call it what it is. They backed into the playoffs a bit, but they're 8-4 and looking to start another win streak. Top 10 across the board on offense and defense. Number 1 scoring in offense. Number 7 rush offense. Number 10 total offense, along with having the second fewest turnovers in the league.
Yep.
And defensively, number 1 scoring defense. Number 7 pass defense. Number 6 rushing defense. And number 5 total defense, along with being number 8 in takeaways.
they're top notch.
So they are really good. Top notch. Ace Finnick has been key to keeping this offense efficient. He's number 2 in QBR and completion percentage, right? And along with Mike Churchill, who was number 3 in rushing, who seemingly he disappeared. Like it almost seemed like he disappeared the last couple weeks. That's concerning for me as well. Both are the reason why they are also converting their third downs at 58%, right? Which is 3rd best in the league as well. On the defensive side, players like Odette Boudreaux, Brian Craven, and Doug Day from linebacker position. And along with the team leader in tackles, safety, Amante Dubois-Smith, one of the greatest names, has contributed this unit being the 5th best defense in the entire SFL. So look, they know it's at stake. They just have to execute because they've done it before. And their key players, Ace Finnick, Stay Finchant, Churchill. Look, prove why you're the number 3 rusher in the league right now, right? Keep it going. Keep it going. Odette Craven, apply pressure on the QB and allow players like Doug Day and Dubois-Smith the opportunity to make the plays on the back end.
Damon Simeon in the chat says he missed the show, Gerald. You didn't miss it. You're here right now, unless he's just saying he missed us personally. Well,
Yeah,
we
he
appreciate
does.
you being here.
He made the playoffs. We're gonna talk about you in a little
Yeah,
bit.
we'll talk. Yeah, you haven't missed your segment yet, Damon. So you're right on time. But Sin City at Pittsburgh, we're looking forward to that one. But you're gonna have to wait just a little bit because that one doesn't take place until last. That will be the Monday night game at 8:45 p.m. So you know what, Gerald? Let's go ahead and introduce our first segment of all-star players from season 25. We'll introduce the quarterbacks, halfbacks, fullbacks, wide receivers, tight ends, and offensive line. So Cameron Irvine, put that up for us so we can see. There you go. There is your first group of all-star players. The quarterbacks, Christian Brown from Vancouver, Ty Patak from Chicago, Johnny Pickler from Bossier City, and Cyrus Jive from Albuquerque. The halfbacks, Andrew Gibson from Detroit, Mike Churchill from Pittsburgh, Bailey O'Shaughnessy from Denver, Tino Sosa from Houston. The fullbacks, J.W. Doyle from Vancouver, Chris Komisak from Florida, a whole slew of wide receivers. You've got Ivory Irvin, Al Dillapre Sr., Stephen Hacker, Brett Killian, Kay Marion, Connor Weston, Chris Lee, John Fullerton, Mike Twinscrew, and Jay Taylor from all of their respective teams, and Paulie Truth from Chicago. He's the first tight end. You've also got Stephen McMichaels from OKC. You've got Lauren Prococo, a staple at the tight end position now from the DC Dragons. Talon Steele from Sin City. The offensive lines selected for the All-Star game: Mexico City Aztecs, Arizona Scorpions, Vancouver Legion, Baltimore Vultures, Houston Headhunters. Gerald, when you look at that list, what do you think?
I think it's great. Congratulations to my very first QB that I had of owning a team, Johnny Pickler, making it back into the All-Star game as well. And another one, I think I love this guy. I think the team is way better when he's involved, is Paulie Truth, and he's played out of his mind this season. It's good to see him back in it. And one of my favorite wide receivers, Mike Twinscrew, getting in there. He had a phenomenal season as well, which he's a big reason why the Florida Storm are in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way that these are all listed here are the order in which the players accumulated the most all-star points, if you will. When you look at the all-star metric that takes all their stats into account and decides how many points are going to be assigned to different things and then tabulates them all up. Christian Brown, the number one quarterback so far, throughout the regular season. Andrew Gibson, the number one halfback, and so on. So you can see how those all played out. Ivory Irvin, he's a big part of the reason that Baltimore is where they are now, and that's in the playoffs when they should have been down and out.
Noticeably absent, I might say. Mexico City players.
Yeah.
Except for the offensive line.
Grand total is 0 on that. Well,
credit to the O-line.
Yeah, credit to the O-line. Yeah,
they represented.
Yeah. Jordan Snipe, least sacked quarterback this season and pretty good rushing average. That's what the offensive lines are graded on, is how many sacks allowed and the average rushing yards gained by the team. So congrats to
he got his MVP. He don't need a
he was all-star MVP.
Two-time champion, MVP.
Yeah, now we barely used him. We said, give the ball to Ray and see what he can do. So, you know what? Ray didn't make the All-Star game either. Yeah. Whatever. Number 2 seed. I'll take
Everybody here, well-deserved. Everybody had great seasons. I love the new format that's put in place. Kudos to you, Mike, and your team for putting this together like this because it's very, very stat-based, honest, and it shows. Good stuff. Congratulations, everyone.
All right, so that's your first set of All-Stars. We'll unveil the next set here after this next breakdown. So let's get into the next game, Gerald. We've got Arizona at Chicago, another wild card game coming up. Chicago, I see Mike O'Neill in the chat, so I'm sure he's ready to hear about what we've got to say about Chicago and Arizona. Chicago hosting a playoff game. They finished the season 7-5, their best finish since their days in Seattle. In Chicago, they've had back-to-back 4-8 seasons, and it looked like they may actually do the same thing here in season 25. Why? Because they had 4 wins early. They won their season opener, but then they dropped 2 to D.C. and Vancouver, but then they won 3 straight to get to 4 wins. So rephrase it. They only won 1 game early on and then had to get those 4 wins with those 3 straight after the couple of losses. And that was by week 9. So they would go on to lose to Denver, then to Charleston, then to Sin City. Were they on their way back to 4-8 because they were doing good? Now they're just losing games. No, they won 3 in a row, taking down Fort Worth, then 2 crushing wins over Oklahoma City to get that winning record. Arizona, if their results were a roller coaster, Gerald, I would lose my lunch. Up and down as any team this season. All right, I'm not going to name all the games, but they had win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. Eddie, I don't know how you survived the season with this sort of up and down. Consistency is going to be key. They can't do this anymore, Gerald. If they're going to make it to the championship, if they're going to win the championship, they need to do something that they have not done all season long, and that's win. That's what it takes to get through the championship game. If you start off as a wild card team, you have to win 4 in a row. So consistency is key. It's going to be win or go home. Game planning for Chicago is going to be tough. It's a unique offense led by the mad scientist type attack who seems to have found quite the winning formula. But a winning formula against Oklahoma City is not necessarily a winning formula against Arizona. So what I'll say about Arizona's ups and downs is the team is trying different things. They see what works, they see what doesn't, and they learn from those mistakes. Eddie Gage is one of the best in the business at scouting, and that includes self-scouting. So he'll check to see what went wrong with his team and try to fix it. And he's got a full season of film now on his team and on Chicago. So will Arizona be ready for Chicago, or will the mad scientist conjure up something new and be able to take the best of Arizona?
At Arizona, I got to say, and it's going to touch on a point you kind of did as well, right? This season, it just seems like they were thrown into a fight and got beat up every week, every single week, but somehow survived. Here they are, battered, bruised, and in the playoffs.
There.
So it just said all the up. That's why I laughed on it when you're talking about it. I'm like, I think the exact same thing. They just been beat up every darn week. But look, 4 of the 5 losses this team has been to teams with a 8-4 or better record this season. So look, and the main reason why they were able to take a beating is their defense.
Yes.
Top 9 across the board statistically, led by the big dog
Yeah,
himself,
I know you love that
Sean Moore, who
Yep.
is the team leader in sacks and interceptions. He's got 5 interceptions. It's tied with his teammate, Rain Rie. I'm not going to mess your name up. Why? Because you're doing good right now. Look, and his play has elevated his teammates to be even better.
Yeah.
The defense ranks number 5 in sacks, with defensive end David Tilley with 10 sacks himself, 5th best in the SFL. Number 2 in TFLs.
Yep.
And look, I called him a TFL machine. It's Adam Wiseman, who was 5th in the SFL in tackles for losses, along with the team being number 6 in takeaways, and they also have 3 defensive touchdowns
Which is
themselves.
crazy. Yeah.
So look, and that's also, and also has the 5th best third down defense. They only allow 46%, this season on third down to be converted. Now the offense has not been good in the passing game from what I've seen.
No, Ashley
Right?
Jackson last season threw a whole bunch of picks, and this season
Yeah.
still throwing a lot of picks.
Yeah.
Those turnovers are costing them games.
And she's 4th worst in the SFL,
Yeah.
but luckily their defense has been such top notch, and their run game has been great behind running backs Brad Jones and DJ Moses. Right, Moses, a former MVP, if I'm not mistaken. Look, and they have been able to rush for over 1,200 yards combined and 13 touchdowns together. So when the pass is working, Highwind and Tita Queen have been great. Both of them have over 55 receptions each and over 700 yards receiving each, right? So for them, when they do it, it's working good, but they got to limit. It's almost like it's when Ashley tries to force it to those receivers, it's when they get in trouble. And,
Yes.
the key players for them, the big dog, stay dominant, man. Look, and, defensive end, Tilly, right? David Tilly, come around this. Apply pressure, run game, keep it going and smooth, stay great. And I do think the X factor, which a lot of people don't know, Fox Highwind, 3 kickoff returns for touchdowns this season. So when you kick it to that guy, teams have to prepare a little bit different on special teams for a man like that. So it could be a game changer.
It definitely could be. And, to have that consistent winning throughout the playoffs, they're going to need to figure out a way to either just lean even more heavily on that run game that's been working, not necessarily to take the ball out of Ashley Jackson's hands, but to a certain extent, exactly that, because they can't afford to just count on the defense to get that ball back, and they can't count on the defense to score touchdowns for them, even though they have. They got to rely on their offense.
And it's all about playing smart football too.
Yeah.
Like sometimes playing smart football, sometimes you have to protect your players from themselves. And Eddie, being the smart coach that he is, I do think he can protect Ashley from herself and just put in a game plan that's more suited to them winning ball games.
All right, so Chicago. First off, I know Mike O'Neill still has this chip on his shoulder from the convention when you talked some smack about Chicago. Are you willing to say that Chicago has earned their place, or what?
They have. I'm gonna give them
All
credit.
right,
I'm gonna
there
give
you
them
go.
credit. Look, the mad scientist now welcomes Arizona to the lab. Yes, I just renamed the Thermoplex. The lab sounds much better to me.
It does sound better.
Right?
I like
so
that.
look, he's welcomed another team right into the lab, and guess what? It's no secret that quarterback type attack is the heartbeat of this team. But overlooked has been their defense, right? Every mad scientist need qualified assistants to keep the experiments going, and this defense are those assistants to the mad scientist. Quietly, they have been great, and some may say even the best. And that puts me in that category. I'm kind of going back and forth. Forget about the yardage stats that they give up. Just forget about it altogether.
Okay.
This unit gets it done. They're number 1 in sacks, TFL, and takeaways. 3 important categories
Lots of takeaways.
for a defense, right? And they have 3 defensive backs with 7+ interceptions.
I had to double check that stat to make sure it was right.
Right. It's Havo Ramsey, Derek Majors, and Melodious Manning.
Yeah.
Doing just playing out their minds. And in true assistant fashion, they are supplying the mad scientists with the tools and ingredients
And
to
extra
be
possessions.
successful.
Yep.
Now, the mad scientist is not wasting anything his assistants are bringing him.
Nope.
The dude is number 1 in pass yards, TDs, QBR. Oh, and let's not forget, he knows how to run all over the field and is the 15th best rusher in the SFL, right? And
You're speaking of the quarterback, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And that's what I'm saying. And guess what? The ingredients he is using to get this done is wide receiver Giffis.
Mm-hmm.
He's got Fullerton. He's got Tarantino, along with tight end Jackson, and which I think is the special ingredient he's had this season that he's utilizing. Tight end Paulie Truth, who has
All-star.
85 receptions, over 1,200 yards receiving,
Yep.
and 10 touchdowns. Ty Patak is playing out of his mind,
Yep.
and it's insane. Guess what? The dude is number one in QBR. He has over 3,800 pass yards, 32 touchdowns, 580 yards rushing,
Yep.
and 9 rushing touchdowns. Key players, the mad scientist, and all of his assistants.
There you go. There's really no better way to break that down. That's what they need.
They're doing great. I think like, it's doing great. It's working.
Yeah, listen, it is working. Like I said, they put up over 120 points in the last 2 weeks, granted against Oklahoma City, but they're still getting those wins. So Arizona and Chicago, that one will also be tomorrow night. That one starts at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So looking forward to that one, but you're going to have to wait one more night. So let's reveal the next set of All-Stars. We'll get into at least some of the defense. Let's talk about the defensive line, your linebackers, and your corners. There they are. And defensive ends, Hugo Reynosa, Jad McPherson, Dan Dash, and Berto Demora. The defensive tackles in the All-Star game, Sean Parent, Robert Cherry, David Tilley, and Nate Brown. The middle linebackers, Nicholas Warner, John Fowler, there's an Aztec, Sean Moore, Big Dog, and Nick Fargo. The outside linebackers, Sabo Kanan, Tony Roberto, Bogey Barr, Alvin Mack, Doug Day, and Luke Swift. The cornerbacks, you mentioned that there was a few of them on Chicago that had 7+ picks, did you? Melodious Manning from Chicago. You got Anthony Wyo. You've got Daniel Valentine. You've got Derek Majors from Chicago. You've got King Rashid. And there's Havo Ramsey, also from Chicago. I mean, we'll finish it off. Jermaine Menafield and Stuart Zemelia. That is your defensive line, your linebackers, and your corners. More and more Chicago Warriors, because that defense, like you said, has helped give Chicago extra possessions, which allows Ty Patak to do his mad scientist thing and get all sorts of points on the board. What jumps out at you here from this group?
Like you have 4 Chicago Warrior players on defense,
Yep.
3 in the secondary, 1 on the defensive line. But I got to give credit to my guy, Turner Roberto, the boogeyman, coming through, earning his spot right there, getting there and doing stuff. And Doug Day, good to see Doug Day from Louisiana guy.
He is.
Going there doing the stuff, right? But look, Detroit's defensive tackles have played out of their mind this season, and they've actually played really great too. So look, a lot of good people doing their stuff. Congrats to John Fowler doing his thing, right? Doing his stuff right there. So look, a lot of stuff. Big Dog Sean Moore doing his stuff was real good. I mentioned David Tilley as well, doing his stuff as well. Look, it's a lot of good. I like how it's just so fair and done well, and all these guys that have on-field achievements, it's paying off for them. Congratulations, guys.
Yeah. A lot of great players, a lot of great names. I was excited to see some people up there that haven't made that list before. Jermaine Menafield, former Aztec, now with Pittsburgh, getting it done there for the Riverhogs, helping them get into the playoffs. Love to see it. So we've still got free safeties, strong safeties, punt returners, kick returners, kickers, and punters coming up that we will announce after our next game breakdown. The next one we'll break down is the second game that's happening tonight, Baltimore at Denver. We'll get into that one now. So let's talk about Baltimore. I basically gave them their farewell speech in our last show because I thought that's the last time we were going to see them, Gerald.
I did too.
I thought they were done.
I did too.
I gave them their roses and tried to send them on their way. But there they are. They're still here. Baltimore had arguably the worst regular season of any team that is in the playoffs. Through their first 8 games, they went 2-6. Granted, they did have the second strongest strength of schedule. We talked about strength of schedule earlier on, so we'll talk about it again. They had the second strongest strength of schedule. So, but this is a team that has a history of winning and has posted a winning record every season they've existed for 7 years. Not seasons, 7 years. That's 14 straight seasons they've posted a winning record. When they got to 2-6, we knew that came to an end, and we all thought, I think everyone thought, probably even Baltimore thought, that they were going to have a losing record.
Yeah.
Because they still had 4 games to go. They're bound to lose one of them, right? Did their season come to an end? Did their 14 straight playoff appearances come to an end? Nope. They beat Queen City. Then they beat Washington on the road in Detroit. They'd beat them too. Then they closed out their season hosting Pittsburgh. They're sure to lose that one, right? Nah, they beat them also. They snuck their way into the playoffs as the 12th seed at 6-6. But look at them over the past 4 weeks. And it looks like the Baltimore team that we all knew from the past. They took down 2 teams with a winning record and won that's at 500. They won most of those games by 2 scores, and they are finally in their groove. Could they make a run through the playoffs here? Let's talk about Denver. They did great. They're building off their 7-5 finish that they had last season, and they went 8-4 this season. There was one hiccup. Even the best teams in the league have a hiccup every now and then. They got shut out by Mexico City back in week 4. It happens. Sometimes it happens. Mistakes were made. And they also had a 21-point loss in week 12 to Houston. But otherwise, they've been very competitive. They've been winning all season long. But this year is going to be a major test for them, though. This was surprising to me. They've only beat all season long one team with a winning record. It was Chicago back in week 10, a team that a lot of people, beginning of the season, didn't think would have a winning record at all.
Yes, that's right.
This guy, by the way. So they've only had one team that they beat with a winning record. I was very surprised to see that. And they are now hosting the 5-time champion Vultures. This is where they're going to try to prove themselves as a legit contender, even if they're just facing that number 12 seed. But is it a 12 seed? This is the one where it's like, man, Baltimore's the 12 seed, but yeah, are they though? Or does Baltimore just continue their 4-game win streak and turn it into 5?
So we all know, right? We're all a fan of sports in general, right? In the NCAA basketball playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
There's an infamous 12-5 seed upset seemingly every season. Yeah. This just might be it.
It might be the one.
One of the scariest matchups for the entire weekend. But Baltimore, they tricked us.
They did.
Maybe we should call them the Possums.
Baltimore Possums.
2-6.
New logo.
6-6.
Coming up.
Baltimore has been on fire lately. Winners of 4 straight. They have averaged 33 points a game.
And about 1 billion passing yards.
The win streak.
Yep.
And they were only scoring 19 points a game in the other 8 games.
Yep.
They had a 2-touchdown improvement the last 4 games. It's insane what they're doing right now. The defense has forced 8 takeaways the last 4 games. They have 19 in total, right? Mm-hmm. The entire season. They haven't been great at all, but guess what? The last 4 games, they've been taking the ball away a lot more. Playing very well right now. Offensively, I mentioned it last week. Ivory Irvin is destroying secondaries right now.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Dude, the last 4 games, it's a crazy stat.
Number 1 receiver in the All-Star scoring.
Irvin is averaging 208 receiving yards with 13 catches a game. The last 4 games. On the season, he has 30 more receptions and over 300 more receiving yards than the nearest wide receiver.
Yep.
Number 1, 113 catches, 1,753 yards, and 10 touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's insane to me. Look, and that goes without saying, quarterback Jack Wigmore is playing great right now as well. The run game has been pretty crappy, right? But the pass offense has been lights out, so they haven't really needed or wanted to run the ball when you have Irvin and Wigmore just clicking at such a high level right now.
The connection between those 2 guys has been unstoppable these past 4 games, so why stop it?
And it's unreal. And some might say one-dimensional, but who cares?
Yeah.
It's working.
If it's one dimension that you can't stop, then I'm going to keep doing it.
And the thing is, and there's not much else for me to say except for if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And guess what? It ain't been broken the last 4 weeks, so I don't anticipate them even attempting to fix it. So look, and for them, they're playing well right now, and it's all in the offense. They just plan on just outscoring everybody. So quarterback Wigmore and Irvin, right? They're just looking to outscore teams. That's just all they're looking to do.
That's it.
But if the running backs and Murray and Gaines can keep them gams warm, right? That's an old saying. You should talk about the gams, the leg. Keep those legs warm because if they need them in a pinch, they can pull them in there and do it. And these are 2 high-quality running backs. If they need them, they're there. So we're going to see us go shake out for them. I don't know.
We are. But they're going up. First off, they're on the road.
Yep.
They love winning at home. They love winning on the road too. I mean, they've won everywhere they've gone. But Denver is hosting this game, and they're going up against that coveted Jimmy Hatz's defense that I know you fell in love with, and I know you've talked about to the point of making some of our viewers ill, and your co-host. But it's a great defensive unit. Does Denver have what it takes to slow down this Wigmore-Irvin connection?
They don't look like the defense they were last season, right? Okay. Last season, they were in the bottom half and takeaways and stuff like that, but they had the number 1 defense, right? They were just stopping everybody and everything else. They were just doing it that way. But this season, guess what? They're doing a little bit different. They had the ranked number 2 in the SFL, and takeaways, and that has also allowed them to be number 1 in turnover differential as
Right.
well, right? So they're taking the ball at a high rate and they're not turning it over either. The defense is extremely good up front, 5th best in sacks, right? 19 of their 26 sacks are from the front four of Cumbus, Reynosa, Gardner, and Saboka. So they're doing good stuff up front,
Yeah.
right? That they didn't really have last season.
Right.
They weren't doing that, right? When you have good pressure up front, you can force a turnovers, which they have gotten, and this has gotten the ball back to their much improved offense run by Michael Goodman this season,
Yep.
right? And season 25, I'm gonna congratulate season 25 rushing champ Bailey O'Shaughnessy, who is the only running back to just go over 1,000 yards this season.
Yeah.
And you couple him with quarterback Trellis Bland, right, who has been extremely efficient and has thrown the second fewest interceptions in the league this season. He has spread the ball around really nicely to all his weapons, and it seems like they have a different target, a top target every week. It seems like with all the wide receivers they have, there's a lot of contributors across to the wide receiver. Sometimes it's Dylan Lewis, then it's Jay Viper, then it's Michael Goodman, then it's a tight end Kleinak. Look, and I didn't even mention Logan Lee and how good he has been over his entire career. So they're able to spread the ball around, doing unique things offensively, and it's helping them out, right? And for them to win this game, up front, you need that front four to apply pressure on a passing offense like this. You have to get there. Cumbus, Reynosa, Gardner, and Saboka, they're going to have to apply pressure to force those mistakes to slow down this offense. And if they do that, they can actually have Bailey going in there to set the turnaround game, slow it down a little bit, and then use Blanton to play mistake-free and efficient ball, and I think they have a shot.
I mean, of course they have a shot because they are 8-4. Now they were the number 5 seed. They're hosting the number 12 seed. It's wild. Like I said, I mean, in our last show, we gave Baltimore their roses. We said our goodbyes. They're still here. They have just as good a shot at taking down a number 5 seed as any number 12 seed ever has. If I'm Denver going into this game, I'm feeling a little uneasy.
Denver has the tools defensively to slow them down.
Yep.
But can they?
That's the thing.
That's the big question. Can they? We're gonna find out.
We're gonna find out later tonight.
Later tonight. So we're gonna find out now. Can you bring it or you not? You don't want to go home.
Right.
I'll tell you what, Baltimore is a really, really hot team right now.
They are.
So
they're going to be playing on the road throughout the entire playoffs, though. So, they'll need to get a win here and then see who they're playing on the road next week and the week after. Actually, if they win this one, their opponent next week is in Vancouver.
I think they become even more dangerous if they win this game.
Yeah.
If they are able to go to Denver and beat Denver, I think they're an extremely dangerous team.
We'll see. It's gonna be a great one. I'm looking forward to this one. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So let's reveal the rest of our all-stars. People have been waiting patiently. We got free safeties, strong safeties, punt returners, kick returners, kickers, and punters. Let's see them. Let's see who we got up there for our final group of all-star players here in season 25. At free safety, you got Kronk Worthy, Rain Orie, Daniel Wright, and Jeffrey Daggs. That's my boy. Strong safeties, Delaney Nash, Ben Sharps, former Aztec, Max Jackson, current Aztec, Brian James from Albuquerque. You've got punt returners, DR Sim. We saw some electric magic from DR Sim in the punt game. And Phil Koss. And the kick returners, Queeg Mam, Fox Highwind. You mentioned all the kick return touchdowns he had. Jason Bartley, he's just electric for the Aztecs. Dave Axis for Bossier City. Kickers, Judah Dorgan and Sile Aldmar. And the punters, Marcus Agrippa and Yultek Rugen. So that is your safeties and your special teamers. Gerald, what jumps out at you?
I tell you what, that safety category is studs. Both
of my Aztec safeties
all
made
8 of them are freaking studs, man.
Yeah.
All of them. I'm like, if I'm building a team, I need one from there. I need one from
Yeah,
there.
right?
I'm not, but I'm just saying, dude, it's straight studs there. It's no surprises for me there. And look, and I think one of the most underrated things about special teams is the punt and kick returners, right? Not to mention the kickers, right? And everybody knows what they are. But these punt and kick returners, we've seen DRSM change the game, one game. And Fox Highwind has done it for the Scorpions as well, having those 3 kick returns as well. So, look, congratulations to them. But, man, those safeties, straight studs.
And those kick returners, I mean, to your point, that can just be such a momentum changer in a game. from multiple standpoints. Because listen, you march down the field, you get yourself into the end zone, you get that touchdown, you got that score, and you're like, yes. And then 10 seconds later, it's gone. It's just gone because you got Fox Highwind just running it in on you.
I straight remember one game playing Houston. We score with like 10 seconds left.
Yep.
Game's over.
Game's over.
Kick
You
it
win.
to him. He runs all the way down to the 3-yard line, and we finally tackle him.
Yep.
And they kick a field goal to win the game with
Done.
2 seconds left. I'm like, I hate everybody.
Yeah, it's
cried my pillow
crazy.
for 3 hours.
It's crazy, but yeah, congrats to the Aztec safeties, both of them making it in. Jeffrey Daggs, Max Jackson, those two have kept us in games by absolutely laying out receivers and just even stat-wise, it doesn't account for everything because the pass breakups don't necessarily count as pass deflections. If those counted too, I'd think that those two would be at the top of that list. They're just absolutely playing lights out.
Max Jackson, one of the hardest hitting defensive backs to ever play in SFL.
Absolutely. So there it is. That's your final list of All-Stars. So the way that the All-Star incentives work, everybody that's on the All-Star list, $750,000 to their player banks. The offensive line, we did change it up this season. Last few seasons now, it was $750,000 to the top two rated, like the in-game rating for the top two offensive linemen. They would be the all-star selections and get the money. Now, because of what everybody had asked for, basically, it'll be you still get two $750,000 banks. It'll be $1.5 million divided up amongst however many offensive linemen that you have. So all of them will get an even share at a $1.5 million prize for the incentives for the all-star game. So help out those O-lines. So that's it. That's the final look at the All-Stars. We've got one game left to break down. We've got some picks to go over, and then we will get people down to the field for Florida and Washington, get the wild card game started. Gerald, the team that you have loved to hate, Florida, they're in the playoffs. They're heading across the country to take on Washington. They finished 6-6 in our picks. You picked against them in all 6 of those wins. You selected them a grand total of never. They won the East. They made the playoffs. Do they earn your respect? We'll find out when it's your turn. They had an easier schedule along the way. They were 20th in strength of schedule, 19th in strength of victory. But like we said earlier, the team needs to play the games that they're scheduled. And they did enough to win enough of the games to win the East and make the playoffs. Washington, on the other hand, they're coming off a franchise best 10-2 season last season, and they did struggle out of the gate. They were going 1-3 through the first 4, but since that time, they got things turned around. They closed out the season 7-1. They couldn't win the West. They came up just shy of Vancouver, but Vancouver is a team that they beat in the regular season. They served Vancouver one of their very few losses. Washington has looked the part. And talking about strength of schedule and strength of victory, they had the 5th most difficult schedule, Gerald, and the 3rd best strength of victory in the league, confirming they prove to be back in the playoffs and hosting a playoff game here tonight. Florida, they've obviously made it further than you thought that they would, but here they are. They're in the playoffs. Is this where their run comes to an end, though, because they're playing a team that's beat really good teams throughout the season, and Florida's just kind of eked their way into it? Or do they pull off an upset, and do they advance to the quarterfinals?
Florida. Despite my best efforts to tear you down, you go ahead and win the division.
There they go.
I blame Carolina.
See, you're back to hating
They
them.
let me down for the gazillion time
That's
this
what
season.
They do. Yep.
Right? Look, and the reason I have doubted them, right, is because they have 0 wins against teams with winning records. Their best win was against Baltimore before Baltimore got hot.
Yep.
Right? So, look, nothing about the Storm defense has been overly oppressive to me at all. Yes, they have contributed to the success of the team, but it has been against just bad teams.
Right.
Look, and it is not an opinion of mine. It's a fact.
It is
right?
a fact. We talked about that strength of schedule.
The reason they have got where they are is because of the great season by members of the offense.
Yep.
So Isaac Covert has had a pretty darn good season, right? He is top 9 in every quarterback category.
Pretty good for filling in for a guy like Ron Cochran. Those are big shoes
Hall
to
of
fill.
Famer. Yeah, look, and he's number 4 in completions, number 6 in pass yards, number 4 in completion percentage, number 9 in touchdowns, number 8 QBR, and the 6th fewest interceptions in the league. And who's he throwing to? Wide receiver Mike Twinscrew, who has become the receiver we all thought he would be and all knew he
Right.
could be given the right role. And he has got his first 1,000-yard season of his
Yeah,
career.
congrats to Twin Screw.
76 receptions, over 1,000 yards on the season, and which is eighth best, right? He has 1,054 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. Look, I don't know if anybody's up on YouTube and watch Twin Screw, but that man does gardening, and his gardening has done him well. Give that man a follow on YouTube at Novice Prep and Gardening. Does good stuff.
There you
Makes
go.
me want to start a darn garden. I see his tomatoes he grows
Yeah,
and his
it's
garlic.
snowing in Western New York. You ain't gardening
It's crazy
anything.
insane. He's down in Virginia.
Yeah.
I got a garden in the spring and summertime.
Yeah, there you go.
Look, but he and his teammates, wide receiver Art Vanderlei and Ryan Haynes, have also been very, very good as well. The run game is what worries me, considering they have 2 studs that are able to run the ball. Boletsky is a former MVP at the running back position, and Kamasek, he can run just as good as any running back, right? But collectively, they average under 3 yards per carry,
Yeah.
and it's just not a recipe for success if they're trying to do it that way. They're 17th in rushing across the entire league. So for me, they're key players. The entire defense has to step it up to be able to compete in the playoffs, right?
Yep.
If you don't have a good defense behind you, you're going to struggle. The run game, you need to get it going to help out Covert and Twin Screw, who is almost your entirety of your offense, right? The way he's finding Twin Screw doing really good stuff. So look, you got to get that going if you want to have a chance against a really good Washington team.
Washington is a really good team, and I'm going to take everybody back for a moment to Week 9. The Contenders and Pretenders show. Washington Trident was dubbed by
Both of these were.
by this man right here. What,
think
Florida was too?
Yeah, Florida was.
You dubbed both of these teams pretenders. Here we are breaking down their playoff
Only
game.
one of them could be a contender.
Oh, well, I think we already know which one, but go ahead.
Look. I want to officially take credit for the
course you do.
turnaround that the Trident had.
It was
Since
all you.
calling them pretenders, they
him.
have only lost 1 game. Kudos to me for motivating Washington to win these games, and kudos to them for actually responding in the appropriate manner in
my
which they
God.
should have responded, right?
You're
I didn't want you to
ridiculous.
respond that way. That's just what you did, and that's good
Yeah.
for you. I wanted you to just crumble, but you didn't. Look, they have beaten playoff teams 3 of the last 4 weeks.
They have.
It's been quite
They're
impressive.
beating great teams.
Arizona, Vancouver, and Denver, and
Yeah.
they've been playing exceptionally well. Credit to their defense for stepping up hugely by forcing a ton of turnovers.
Yep.
Safety Albert McGinn leads the team with 8 interceptions. He's tied for number 1 in the SFL, and former safety turned linebacker Nicholas Warner is just behind him with 6 interceptions, and he has a team leading 121 tackles on the season. That's 8th best in the SFL. The front 4 has really started to pick it up as well. Each of members of the front 4 has 3+ sacks on the season. Panani, McNeely, Howard, and Tina Begin, which has helped generate those turnovers as well. They also have the number 6 third down defense as well. So, look, offensively, they have been playing pretty darn clean football and has helped their, the success of themselves offensively. Tom Utah has been able to limit his mistakes as of late and manage the game.
That's key.
And get quality output from the running backs and Dwayne Salmons and Christopher Dean as well. Look, this offense hasn't blown anybody away, but when they play mistake-free football, Mike, it starts to become a recipe for success.
Yes.
And they have gotten in this ball control type offense, which has done really, really good for them. And their key players, it's got to be Warner. It's got to be Albert Begin on the defensive side, continue to play at that high level. The X factor, I think, for this game that can change the game for them, tight end Azami Mihata, right? The offense is next level when he is involved in the offense, and I do think they get him involved. I think it could be almost a no-brainer that they're going to win this game.
Yeah, of all the games that we broke down, and this one's not even the 5 versus the 12. And yeah, Robert Thump's got a special message for you. I see you reading it right now. I'm not reading it on the air.
Credit to me, y'all just start doing good time.
I'll read it out loud if it's a super chat. Showing it out there, $20 goes a long way. But this game is the one where I feel like it has the potential to be the most lopsided. I think Washington probably has the edge here. But with that note, let's get into our picks, shall we? Before we do, though, real quick, special shout out to Ron Haynes. You mentioned Ron Haynes. He's there with Florida. Ron Haynes been with us all season long, putting together those offensive and defensive player of the week videos. Thank you so much, Ron, for doing that for us. We don't do those videos during the playoffs, but for the semifinal show, I think we're going to do some special videos. So we're going to reach back out to Ron and see what he can dial up for us.
Love that man. He's a beautiful man. He does a lot of good work, and
So
sometimes we do not give him the amount of time that he needs, but he pumps it out and gives us what he's doing. Thank you, Ron, for doing what you're doing. We cannot thank you enough. It just elevates the show to heights we could not do on our own.
Ron Haynes for MVP. Listen, his player might not have the stats to make MVP, but he is our MVP.
Correct.
For sure. All right, let's talk about our picks, shall we? I went 8-2 last week. I had a pretty good week. You went 6-4.
Yeah.
You had some letdowns.
I'm still behind.
Go Steamers.
Yeah, go. I don't want to talk
All
about
right,
Carolina.
all right. Hey, I'm at 78-46 on the season. You're at 73-51. There's still time to catch up. There's 10 games left to pick. We have 11 games left in the season, but we will be calling one of them. We'll be calling a game later on in the semifinals, so we won't pick that one. But we will pick here tonight. So let's start off with the game coming up next. We've got Florida and Washington.
So I just can't pick you, Florida. Washington, right, has played really well and shown, right, they won a really big game against a really good team last week. Florida just played a Carolina team, was down in their luck. I hope they was going to win. But look, if Florida is going to try and do it, it's got to be on the offensive side because I don't think their defense has what they have, but Washington has the full package that they need as they welcome Florida going across country to play. Washington's going to win it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm also picking Washington in this one. I love me some Ron Haynes, and I think he as a player is also going to do some good things in this game. I don't think it's going to be enough to beat Washington at home. They've just looked too darn good. I get back to the whole stats thing. Florida, they've won 6 games. They've only won 2 less games than Washington, but they've been easier games.
Yep.
Washington's had more difficult games, and they've been winning them. Give me Washington. Baltimore at Denver.
The scariest game of the week.
Yeah.
In my opinion right here. And it was a tough thing for me, right? But you know what? I believe in what Jimmy Hattis is going to bring to be able to slow down that high-powered Baltimore offense that we've seen over the last month. So Jimmy Hattis and his defensive crew, he'll have that scheme geared in, and the opportunities they're going to get from forcing Baltimore into mistakes, I do think gives their offense back the ball, and I think they win by a field goal.
I went back and forth on this one, and I actually had put down my pick, and then I switched it because, listen, Baltimore announced that they are leaving the league, and I think they're going to go out with a bang. I tried to say goodbye last week. They wouldn't go away. They're still here, and I don't think they're going anywhere, Gerald. I think they advance to the quarterfinals. I think it's going to be close, but I think Baltimore is going to get the win in this one. Give me Baltimore. We've got Arizona at Chicago.
Look, the mad scientist, he's welcoming, like the Scorpions into the lab and is planning on trying to make them some sort of an experiment, trying to dissect them, everything else. It's not going to happen. Okay. I do think Eddie Gage, why? Like you mentioned before, very good scouting.
Very good.
Other teams' mistakes. Scouting his own mistakes. And when you put that together, you're going to have a formula that, guess what? That maybe the mad scientist ain't ready for.
Okay.
Eddie Gage is going to have the right thing to go into Chicago and take them down. It's going to be a close one.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that Eddie Gage might have the big dog more. They might be carting Mr. Patak off because if he ain't there, they don't win. They're not going to win. But even if he is there, Arizona will take it out. I'd pick Arizona.
If Ty Patek gets injured, then maybe I'll have to change this pick, but it's too late. I got to book it now. I can't change it after the fact. But give me Chicago. Listen, Eddie Gage, you are one of my favorite people in the league and on the planet. I love me some Eddie Gage. He's a great dude. I can't pick Arizona this week. And we talked about why when we broke down the game. Gerald, what did you say about Ashley Jackson?
It's picks.
Throws a lot of picks. What did you say about the Chicago secondary?
They get a lot of picks.
They get a lot of interceptions. 3 defensive backs with 7 picks each. Give me Chicago. Sin City at Pittsburgh.
Make one last thing, but guess what? Good coach does protects a player from themselves, and he will do it.
One last game, Chicago or Sin City at Pittsburgh.
Louisiana North.
Figured.
I don't think Sin City, but they are good on the road. But I don't think they're going to do it. They're going to fix what they had. They haven't been playing. They didn't play bad last week.
Yeah.
They just Baltimore was way better, and they slowed down a high-powered offense
Yeah.
in Baltimore from scoring a ton of points. I think Pittsburgh has it.
Yeah, give me Pittsburgh as well. I just think that they're the better team out of the two in this particular situation. Both teams lost the last two games of the regular season. Someone's got to win this one.
Yep.
Pittsburgh's at home. They've proven themselves. I just don't think Sin City's got what it takes to bring down Pittsburgh. So give me Pitt. And that's all the time that we've got. But one important programming note, convention alert. We're ready to announce the convention. It's not going to be today, but we will announce. I know I can't. I'm sorry. I'm a jerk. The location and the dates of the 2026 SFL convention will be announced by us during the championship game pregame show, 8 p.m. Eastern on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. So mark your calendars, tune in. You're going to want to watch the championship game anyway. That's when we'll announce the convention. Time's up for us. This has been the Matt Willson SFL Kickoff Show for the wild card round for Gerald Smith, Cameron Irvine, and even Ron Haynes. I'm Mike Dykes. Thanks for joining us. Get ready. The wild card starts next.